Welcome to Flipping Out with your host, Paul Lizell, your leader in virtual wholesaling and investing in today's real estate market. Each week, he will be joined by some of the biggest players in the real estate space who will share their experiences, knowledge, insight, and tips for making it big in the industry. And now, here's your host, Paul Lizell.
Hello, and thank you for tuning into this episode of Flipping Out, a virtual real estate investing podcast with a focus on small town America. This is Paul Lizell, your host, the undisputed pioneer of virtual wholesaling with over 10 years of experience buying and selling real estate all across the U.S. I've purchased properties in 44 out of 50 states and will continue to dive into new markets every year. Hello, fellow investors, and welcome to the new age of virtual investing, where we look at the latest and greatest ways to innovate, automate, and ultimately accelerate your investments so that you can live the virtual real estate lifestyle of your choice. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Flipping Out. Paul Lizell here, and my guest today is Ben Fredericks. Ben's a good friend of mine. He's also in a mastermind group that I belong to. And he and I have a very, very similar business model. We both buy bank-owned properties. He will sometimes buy in bulk. He'll also buy off the MLS as well. For the most part, he buys just bank-owned properties. Specializes in owner financing, which we do quite a bit of as well. He does it on a grander scale than what we do on the owner financing side. He does not do as much of the wholesaling as we do, but his model is very, very similar. And in today's episode, we get into real depth about the value of owner financing and what that does for you, right? And the headaches that wholesaling and fix and flip have compared to this, or managing rentals as well. And we also talk about the lack of other investors in this. You find so many investors that are in wholesaling, fix and flipping, the glamorous, positions in real estate investing, but not enough into owner financing. And we're totally fine with that because we're filling in that market. There are other investors, and it does seem like we talk about how middle age, which of us are, we fall more into that category. We go to that owner financing model. Don't know why. Don't know whether it's an age thing or it's just a spot in life. You get burned out from doing the rentals. When you're younger, you're not burned out yet. I still have the rentals, but they are much more cumbersome for sure than owner financing because you don't have to deal with tenants or toilets. But we really get into depth about that. And he talks about his company Noteworthy and NoteTools.com, which you can sign up for a monthly newsletter. I think it's like $9.99 or something like that a month. Very cheap, but it's a great quality program he's got going. I'm signing up for that. A lot of good info in there, and it'll teach you the ins and outs if you are interested in owner financing. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. We'll catch you in the next one. How would you like to have a full or part-time business that allows you to create a flexible work schedule around your busy lifestyle? Would you like to earn between $60,000 and $500,000 annually working from the comfort of your own home? If so, then virtual wholesaling may be the business for you. Contact us at reauctionacademy.com and find out how to get a jump start on building a cash flowing machine without the headaches of dealing with contractors and homeowners. With an investment starting as low as $7,000, you can be well on your way to living the virtual investing lifestyle of your choosing. Hello and welcome to another episode of Flipping Out. This is your host, Paul Lizell. And in today's episode, I have a kindred spirit here, a good friend of mine, Ben Fredericks. And Ben does a lot of the same stuff that we do, buying off online auctions, buying off the MLS. He's also big time into the notes and owner financing, so much so that he purchased a company called Noteworthy. Ben, why don't you do us a favor and give us a little introduction on what got you into real estate, where you are now, and then we'll dive into Noteworthy and some of the other companies you have.
That sounds good, Paul. Well, thanks for having me on the show, man.
Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. So I got invested in real estate, back in 2005. I think I bought my first rental property, and I was working for Lehman Brothers at the time, and looking for additional ways that I could stash some money away. We were making great money, maxing out 401ks, and I was like, okay, now where can I do? And I watched my grandparents, they owned a couple of properties. And so I kind of got the real estate bug when I was a kid, I was always putting in the sweat equity. I was the one doing the lawns and helping paint and stuff when people moved out. But that's kind of where I got my interest, and then bought my first rental property. And then, we bought another one about 6 or 8 months later, once we recapitalized, saved some more money to put down. And by the end of 2008, we got crushed. So, and it wasn't because we were doing the wrong thing. I mean, we were putting 20% down on every deal. So it's not like we were doing those no doc loans and, stated income or whatever. And it's just a case of bad timing. But it was also, I was uneducated on how to buy at the right price. So at that time, I figured, well, real estate just wasn't for me, and I'm going to go do something else. And Lehman Brothers collapsed. So I just gotten married, financially absolutely destroyed. And I was just like, well, this is a great time in the world. So
perfect storm.
Yeah, right. So just how every marriage wants to start out, I'm sure my wife would say. But, I went to work in financial services after that. And I did that for 8 years. I hated every minute of it, didn't want to do it. And then I decided I was going to go back to real estate in some way, shape, or form. So I realized last time I was not educated on what to do. So I started saying, all right, I'm going to just start from scratch, learn everything that I can, absorb. And so for about a year, I read every book. I went to workshops. I, just learned different things, watched a lot of YouTube videos. And then I had some people that I knew with money out of South Florida, and they were looking for real estate deals. So I was like, all right, maybe I can put some people together here. I've always been kind of good at networking. So let me just see if I can connect some people and facilitate some deals. And because of that, I put out a Craigslist ad, and I got a call one day from the guy who's now my mentor. And he opened my eyes to the world of owner finance. And that was 4 years ago. And I haven't looked back since. It was mind blowing to me. Like when I didn't even know it existed. Here I am. I was working for a bank doing loans, and it never crossed my mind that I could be the one creating the loans and be the bank, right? So I always just figured, well, you got to be a Wall Street firm or some big corporate bank to be able to make loans to somebody. And then when it was illustrated to me, I was like, all right, so I could buy this property for $10,000 and turn around and sell it for 30 on an owner financing note, maybe get 4,000 or 5,000 down and have all my money back within a year and just be pure profit. It blew my mind.
It's mind boggling, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, totally. And after that, I was just like, all right. And that was sort of my introduction, but my introduction was kind of weird because it wasn't to be an investor. It was because of my mortgage background. So he was interested in me because I could underwrite the loans.
Right.
So Dodd-Frank had just come about sort of, and was a big thing in the industry. And so all these investors were looking for ways to underwrite their loans. And that's kind of how I learned it. I learned it from the inside out. So I started underwriting loans, and within, 3 to 4 months, I started going to different conferences where these investors were, one of which was Noteworthy, which I'm now part owner of, like you said. And I would just sit in the back of the room and just learn everything. Like when I was there as what do you call it? Like I had a booth, a sponsor. And then when everybody was back in the classroom learning, I'd go into that classroom and just sit in the back and just
taking notes.
You're taking notes furiously and learning everything that I could. And within about 6 months, I was like, I should be doing this, So, and that's how I got started. And I raised a little bit of money, and then it just kind of started exploding from there.
It's amazing what you could do with owner financing and how you can take, let's just say you had a $500,000 chunk of change, what you could invest that in, what you could turn that $500,000 in. You can easily turn that into $1.5 million. I mean, with how much, like a lot of the deals, like you said, you get for $10,000, you're selling it for 30. You would get 4 or 5 down. So there's half your money back right there. Within a year or 18 months, you're getting the other half back right there. And then you're a whole the rest of the time. If you want to, you could sell the note, you could keep it. It's up to you. There's just so many options that it comes to with that, It's unbelievable. Owner financing is incredible.
I've never seen a way to create wealth faster on paper. It's exponential. It's really, really cool.
And no tenants and no toilets.
That's right. That's probably the best part. So I had several years of the rental properties, and I still own some rentals, but I definitely prefer the notes a little bit more.
I'm with you 100%. And, rentals are great for tax purposes, right? You need the tax write-offs. You need some of that. But they are much more high maintenance, much more high touch. You have to fix flooring, fix plumbing at times, add stone to a driveway. There's so many different things that come up in a house that you have to do that you don't have to worry about with a note. You're the bank holder, right? And if the note goes bad, one, you could sell this non-performing note. Yeah, you might only get 25, 30 cents on a dollar, but you can still sell it as non-performing note, or you can get it performing again and just start it all over and do it again and make even more, which I've done a few times on a couple of my notes, believe it or not.
Yes.
Multiple people in there, I've done well with that. Yeah, it just keeps compounding what you end up doing.
Yeah. When you, just to even do partials, to sell off a piece of your note too. And it's like a deferred annuity.
Yes.
You're getting a capital back, and then, later on down the road, your payments kick on again. It's a beautiful thing.
I've done that, and I've had it where, you have like a 120-month note and you sell 24, 36, or 48 months off of that note. Those payments go to that investor and then kicks right back onto you. It's great. And then sometimes you get that to make yourself whole and even pull some money out and then buy another one and do another deal. It's just amazing how you can, it's almost a compounding effect of what you can do to just increase the amount of properties you can purchase and rinse and repeat with it,
That's the key on it too, right? Because with notes, eventually, and this happens to all investors, you're going to run out of money, So, and you're like, okay, well, you hate to part with the note, and that's what makes partial so perfect, So, learning that from guys like Eddie Speed and Nick Ligamaro was like, oh wow, okay, this is something I can utilize because I get that money back and I can put it back to work. And you're just exponentially growing it, if you can have it back, and then it's just there down the road. You're kicking the can down the road.
Absolutely. And speaking of Nick and I just did a deal together in Groesbeck, Texas, real rural area.
Yeah.
Put it together. I purchased it for 40. We sold it for 89.9. Created a note for 80,000. They put $9,000 down. Sold that note almost immediately. I got my profit, basically my wholesale profit, and then some. Yeah. And then he's holding a short-term note on it as well. So it's just like a win-win-win. You could do so many different things with these things. It's unbelievable. I'll probably do more deals with them too down the road with that.
Yeah.
That's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, he's super smart on the industry. Every time I talk to him, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even consider that.
I know. He does do and say things that don't even cross my mind with it. Like, bro, you can do that? I didn't even think about that. Never even crossed my mind. It's unbelievable.
That's the beauty of being the bank. You can really get as creative as you want to. There's not a lot of limits in terms of the things that you can do, and you just have to have the vision.
Yes. And then getting into Noteworthy. So we'll jump into your company now because you guys you just recently had an online event, right? But you also do periodic, are they quarterly events? How many do you normally do?
Well, pre-COVID, yes, we were going to do, like 3 a year. So this year has been a little bit of a challenge. So we had to pivot a little bit and go to a virtual event. So, which was great. We packed it 2 days full of content. And, I've gone to a lot of events. Like I said earlier, I was really trying to educate myself in a whole bunch of different ways. And a lot of the events would be like, locally where the HGTV stars would come and, they pitching you their $25,000 course or whatever it is. And, thankfully I never bought into any of that stuff, but I didn't feel like there was a lot of value in that. So when I got involved in Noteworthy, the reason I agreed to do it was, one, because it taught me so much, but two, because we could continue to perpetuate that and just keep it like an educational platform where it's not a pitch fest. It's just, hey, these are some things you can come and learn. You can network, bring your notes and sell them if you want to. There's going to be notes here that you can buy, and it's all about those relationships. And now it's a little tougher because you don't get the personal interaction, which is the best part of those events. So you have to belay that a little bit. But I think by next year, we'll be able to start doing smaller events. In February, we're going to do just a 50-person event, keep it real intimate in Orlando. And just try to build from there. Hopefully as COVID, goes away or dissipates or we get back to some sort of normality. But, that's really why I got involved. It's just, it helped me so much. And it's just a way of giving back and helping other people springboard into it. Because you and I both know so many people don't know about notes. Like if you go to a note event, and I'm becoming one of these guys, it's usually the guys that are, middle age and women that are middle age. There's not a lot of youth in notes, and it's just because they don't know about it.
They don't know, they don't understand. I'd say, and you and I belong to a mastermind group together. And in that mastermind group, there's probably maybe 4 guys that do what we do with the owner financing. You mean, I think Nick, I'm not sure if Nick's still a part of Investor Fuel or not, but there might be 1 or 2 other guys that dabble in it, but nobody does it to the level that we're doing it. And even in Collective Genius, when I was in that, it was the same thing. There was a group of 2 or 3 of us that would do this. And Eddie Speed was in that group. And Eddie Speed tried to push these guys in that direction. And I think sometimes you get in a mindset, especially when you're young, right? When you're doing all these fix and flips and you get these 30, 40, 50, 60, $100,000 paychecks are coming in when you're done it. But you're doing all that work and now it's done, right? And now you got to find the next one. And here you're continuing. Yeah, your note might have a finite end. It's going to end after 60, 120 months, 180, depending on how long you make it. But if you continue to make more and more of these notes, it continues to come in and you replace one with another one, right? And so you can continue to do it and compound long-term wealth. You'll take some of these back as things go wrong, just like the bank does, right? And on those, honestly, you'll probably do far better than you will on the ones that just end up paying off for refinancing. It's a pretty interesting thing, but the mindset of a lot of people is just either wholesale, which we do. We do a lot of wholesaling. I've done more fix and flipping this year than I've done since 2008, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And it's been good, but I've done it because I've had lesser deals and I see there's lesser deals. I'm like, all right, let me maximize my return on some of these deals, do some local fix and flips, even do a couple that are a little further away. But the mindset of most people is not the owner financing. And I don't understand why not. Maybe it's just because we don't have as much education in the real estate industry, in the owner finance. There's Eddie Speed. There's a handful of guys out there, not that many. Yeah. I'm wondering if that's what it is, but you're right. It's guys our age. I'm 47. You're probably similar age to me too. And these middle-aged guys that are starting like long-term, got to think long-term. What can I use to pay for my kids' college education or, retirement, all those kind of things, right?
Yeah, it's a small circle, like the note industry. So you run into a lot of the same people and, at different events. But I think it's just a lack of knowing. I mean, obviously there's different programs out there that push wholesaling. So wholesaling is the big sexy thing right now, Yes. So, and that's just the way it is. And that's fine. Wholesaling is great, yeah. But a lot of people don't realize you can create notes while you're wholesaling,
Yes, you can.
So, I mean, you could create a note out of your wholesale fee. Why not just create a note out of every third wholesale fee that you do?
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, they default and you take the property. So it's just,
you can then wholesale again or do another owner finance.
That's right. So I mean, I think a lot of people just they get the blinders on and they're so focused on what they do, which I totally understand. It is not a negative thing. Right. You should be very focused, but don't look away from the possibilities of like long-term wealth, like you said.
Yeah, I agree. I first got into the owner financing side around 2011, 2012. I think is when I did my first owner finance deal. I remember I was buying these properties, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, all these properties we find on auction, dirt cheap back in the day, kind of out there, not as easy to sell to a general as a wholesale. Okay, I could wholesale this one and make 4 or 5, or I can keep this one, make it, instead of selling it for 20, maybe I'm selling it for 35 or 40 now, collect the down payment and collect payments over time. I'm like, wow, I'm doing way better with this methodology than I am. So now all the smaller ones, almost all of them, we turn into an owner finance. All right, 10,000, this is an owner finance model, right? 20,000 even. And occasionally we just did one. This is up in Hanover, Pennsylvania, which is near Wilkes-Barre, the Scranton area in Pennsylvania. Nice house. ARV probably around 150 or so, and it was in decent shape. It probably needed about 20 to bring it up. and we sold it for $89,900 to a guy with owner financing. He put $59,000 down. I paid $55,000 for the property. He put $59,000 down, and I created a $37,000 note for him. And it continues to pay, and I'll either keep it or I'll just turn around and sell it. And there's my wholesale fee. Right.
I hate those infinite returns. They're so frustrating.
Yeah. I know, they're the worst, aren't they?
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. I mean, on those smaller ones, it's so easy to do a 2.5 or 3x, above what you paid for it. It gets cumbersome unless you steal the property.
Yes.
Like $100,000 deal. You can't turn around and sell for 200 unless you absolutely stole it. But there's a big market for those, and that was one thing that we covered at our last Noteworthy event, is that affordable housing is at an all-time low, like access to it. So it's very difficult because a lot of millennials are not buying houses, they're renting. And so that's driven rents up. And, I think you subscribe to the same thing here, is like when we price out a deal, we're always making it more attractive than it would be to rent anywhere.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Why would you go rent when you could own this?
And it's cheaper. Your monthly payments are lower than what you pay in rent.
Yeah. So, and you're going to own it. So, and that makes it a big deterrent to screw it up,
For sure.
For those people.
And I think in a nail on the head, a couple of different things. Right now, the banks are tightening too. And again, they never like to do that 100,000 and under or 50,000 and under loan, right? So that's where the owner finance people filled in that part of the market. And with the unaffordability, I think even more so down the road here, we're going to be hitting, I think the owner finance thing is going to grow bigger and bigger over the next decade or so here. Especially as we hit a downturn in the market coming up, as soon as these foreclosures all hit, it's going to be even bigger, the owner finance game.
Especially, you're right. I mean, if interest rates stay low, there's just no benefit to the bank. Like they're like, what? This is too much risk, and I'm not going to make any money on top of it for our shareholders. Why would I do it?
Yeah, for 3% return, right? I mean, that's nothing for them. That's nothing.
Guys like you and I are happy to take those off their hands.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we can do well with them, manage them, do a far better job with them, and less turmoil. They don't think you want the bank. They like that. Now, have you ever been in a wholesale business or in a fix and flip? Have you done any of those?
I've done a couple of fix and flips. I don't have a great vision for that stuff. Like I don't know what it is. I have a vision for systems, processes, numbers, and stuff like that. And then my brother, this is how weird family dynamics are. My brother is like a master carpenter. He knows how to decorate a place, make it look fantastic. Problem is he lives halfway across the country, so I can't utilize that.
Yeah.
So I have to, stick with what I'm good at. And fix and flip, while I enjoyed the process, I was just like, it's kind of outside my wheelhouse. I don't know anything about decorating. I'm just going to kind of stick with what I'm good at. Wholesaling, I have looked at doing that. I'm looking hard at doing it right now because inventory is low for us.
Right.
So, it wouldn't be that hard to pivot because we've got great relationships all over the country and we can find deals. And maybe it's just I think you're doing this, right? Where you're getting deals from wholesalers.
Yes.
So I'm going to turn the interview to you. So how does that typically work? Is it like you're just identifying, hey, this is my target and what I want to buy? And at this price, you're setting that stage?
That's it. So you look at it, a lot of these wholesalers are guys that are newer people out there that don't have cash behind them, right? They're getting it. They can't really close on these deals. So let's say a wholesaler brings me a deal for $75,000, but I know I can list this thing on the MLS for like $109,900 and sell it for $100K. I'll just turn it and do it that way, right? Turn it, make it $20 to $30K, just list it on the MLS. And sitting on a little bit, paying a little bit of interest on the money. But it's just another way for us to do kind of what we're doing with the auction properties. And we're doing a little bit of wholetailing. I'm not sure if you get any of that. We're trying to make this FHA mortgageable, get rid of the chip paint, put some new floor covering down, light fixtures, make sure plumbing's okay and electric's okay, relist it, resell it. Like I got a couple in New Mexico I'm doing that with right now, which is a pretty hot market, New Mexico. Even these ones are kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So we're doing a little bit more with that, and we're working with our local wholesalers in the market that we know here. Now we're going to start to dabble in the San Antonio market with wholesalers because we have a relationship. One of our students in there, or one of our Rockstar students, is out of San Antonio, and he's a licensed agent and he also is a general contractor. So it's like the best of everything. So we just do together. We'll do fix and flips with him full scale.
Yeah.
Just because he knows that market and he can do it more cost effectively, and it just makes sense. So it's one of those things you got to pivot as you need to. As the bank's inventory drops, get in, look at other alternative sources, right? And even tax sales, which I've gotten into over the past 3 or 4 years. I've occasionally done some of them, and they're great owner finance deals if you can get them. And if they don't have the cloudy title, right, or if they don't have different stuff on them, those costs can add up. The order, the sewer, the trash, all these different liens that go on them. So you have to do a lot of research with those, but those are great owner finance deals for sure. So pivoting, it's switching and figuring out what works and what doesn't work within our model. Because I don't want to start something new. I don't want to have that shiny object syndrome and go, oh, let me try this here, or I don't want to buy like pre-existing notes that need to be brought back up. I'd rather just make my own notes make my own tape of notes. And if I want to sell them, I do that rather than buying a tape. And I have good friends that do that. They buy the tape, they get them performing. That's a whole other business, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We have guys that, that are in Noteworthy that, they look at millions of dollars of tapes of non-performing notes and, distressed seconds and all these things. And I look at that, I just go cross-eyed and, just because I know what I know. And you're right. I mean, you don't want to take your eye off the ball and just say, oh, let me go try this now, because then you become a jack of all trades and a master of none. Yes. But sometimes you do need to substitute in something, just to get you through a lean time. And that's one of these times right now.
Agreed, it is. And I think, at this point next year where we are in 2021, say September, what is it, 25th year, I think we're going to have potentially more deals than we know what to do with. If they let the moratorium expire, right? They've got to let the moratorium expire at some point. The longer they kick this down the road, and right now it's at December 31st. However, in California, it's March 31st, from what I understand, which is even crazy. California's a whole other animal, right? But the longer they kick this down the road, the more that inventory is going to grow of foreclosures, of evictions, which will then lead to disenfranchised landlords that want to sell their properties and, again, flood the inventory even more and just drop prices further and further. I could easily see a 20-30% correction over the next year or two with a lot of different markets. Yeah,
it's funny. The thing about that, where they're deferring those payments out, people get used to not paying.
Yes.
So, and it's going to be very hard for them to turn that spigot back on, when the bank says, all right, it's time for you to start paying me now. There's a lot of people that it's just not going to work.
It's absolutely not going to work. And we're creatures of habit. So we're, like you said, habitual. We're used to not paying. We're used to now being on Zoom meetings, right? And doing meetings virtual. That's why I would like Noteworthy. If you do 1 or 2 virtual meetings a year and then do 1 or 2 live events, I think that could be a nice blend for your company and things in there, because people are used to and comfortable now going on a virtual meeting and doing it. Like 2 years ago, if we talked about this, we would never have thought it would work, right?
Yeah.
But numbers are pretty good. Some of these guys are doing, Eddie Speed is doing extraordinarily well with his virtual events. I remember talking to him years ago about this. He's, I'm never going to go virtual. I like doing he likes to do that whole thing, that song and dance. But now he's realizing I can do this virtually.
Now you're not going to be able to get him out of the house.
Yes. He's used to being on the road all the time. Now, I think he's enjoying being home a little bit.
Oh, yeah, totally. I was traveling so much over the last 2 years, just to different things. Yeah, I had the thought of going anywhere is and it's not because of even COVID. It's just the whole process of traveling. It's I don't even miss it. So
I'm with you, and I'm going to Tampa on Sunday, and I'm kind of dreading this whole process. Got to wear this mask on a plane. Yeah. Don't really want to do it. I'm going to go to Investor Fuel in November here, and that'll be another process deal.
Yeah.
It is what it is, but it will be fun. That one's going to be held at Dallas Cowboy Stadium right there.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be awesome. That's going to be a cool event. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So your note business, Noteworthy here, you're going to continue to grow this company. I'm sure you're going to continue to grow what you're doing on the owner finance side here. Are you continuing to grow capital to add more deals as they come? And are you ready for this next crash to really ramp up even more?
Most definitely. We actually just stress that now is the time to be raising money, So just on the idea of it, that it's coming, because people know, people with money, they know what's coming, and they're very hyper aware of it. So, we've added a bunch of money over the last 3 months, and we haven't been able to spend it yet, so, but it comes with a lot of telling the people, hey, you're going to have to be patient a little bit. The well is going to be dry for just a little bit, but it's going to fill back up.
Yeah.
So, and now you've given me a great idea here in terms of, taking down just some wholesaler deals.
Yeah.
Because we're just sitting on money. We could totally do that.
Yeah, utilize that, put that cash, to use. You're going to find some pretty good deals out there. There's some deals in some of the outlying markets we're looking at right now. And also just missed out on a deal last week. Went like that. And it could have been one owner finance. It was a better one I could have gotten, put on the MLS and just resold and, continued to make money off the capital that we have on the sidelines right now. I'm actually getting rid of some rentals right now too in this market. Just thinking, all right, I'm going to get some of the ones that aren't as good. I got ones that cash flow great, going to keep them. Other ones that are more problem properties, get rid of them, get the cash put to the side, stash it for the crash, and then be ready to buy in and do more owner finance opportunities or buy more rentals as they come dirt cheap again. Yeah,
for sure. That's smart.
Yeah, I think that's where we're kind of heading to, and we'll see. We'll see where it takes us. The question is how quick it is. Do they do another stimulus too? That's been the big question. We're talking about September now. It's kicking down the road, and we'll see what happens on that there. What are your thoughts on the stimulus?
I get terrified at the stimulus just because of all the money. It's just crazy. Yeah. So if there's a great podcast with Peter Schiff, he was on Joe Rogan's podcast. Mm-hmm. And oh my goodness, if you want to stay awake at night, go listen to that podcast. But yeah, I would rather, I love the free market. I hope it just would figure itself out, So I think that's what happened for the most part in 2008. It just realized, hey, this shouldn't have happened.
Right.
It all goes to hell, and you got to start from scratch. And, some people got saved and some didn't. I worked for a company that did not get saved.
No, Lehman didn't get saved.
Yeah.
We're sacrificial lambs that led to the whole collapse.
Yeah. Company been around 150 years and gone, So, I was fortunate. I got out before that happened. I stopped believing the writing on the wall. I got moved 3 different divisions. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it obviously this is an anomaly. Like we will probably never see this again in our lifetime. And
yeah, agreed.
You and I probably thought, all right, well, the opportunities that we saw coming out of the last recession were the greatest opportunities we'll ever see in our lifetime.
Right.
Now here we are, 12 years later, and we're seeing it again. And it's like, oh my goodness. So yeah, it's unprecedented. I wish I had a crystal ball to know how it's going to work out. But I think you've got the right idea in terms of, selling off some things, profiting, sitting on that money and getting ready, because that's what the big boys do, So they're always ready to buy when everybody else panics and buy stuff at bargain bin pricing.
Yep, that's what the 1% do, man. They buy it all up when it's really cheap.
Yeah.
And sell it when it goes up.
Yeah. I don't even need to get to the 1%, Paul. If I could just get 5%, I'm good, I'd
be ecstatic for that too. I'd be super ecstatic for that as well, Ben. Ben, if people want to reach out to you and find out more about Noteworthy and events that come up, what's the best way for them to reach out and contact?
Yeah, you can email me at ben@notetools.com, or you can connect with us online. We have a YouTube channel, Noteworthy USA, and we've got a bunch of content there. So if you want to learn more about notes, you can come check that stuff out.
And then your monthly newsletter is on notetools.com. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we publish a monthly newsletter. It's got a lot of experts from the industry that, are contributors. We got to get you in there, Paul. So
I definitely got to get in there. I'm going to sign up for that baby today.
Yeah. So, but to have you in as a contributor would be awesome because of your experience.
I would love that.
Yeah. But we publish notes that are for sale in the industry that are off market in the newsletter. So if you're looking to buy notes or, just learn more about it. If you want to learn more about the industry, how a note works, some of the things you need to know in terms of due diligence and all that stuff, there's great articles in there from experts that have been doing it a lot longer than me. Mm-hmm. And, it's usually anywhere from 15 to 20 pages a month. But if you go to notetools.com/newsletter, you can subscribe, and it's less than $10 a month.
Can't beat that. That's a bargain. That's $120 a year, and you're getting great information. And and this is the time to sign up for that, because over the next year, 2 or 3 or 5, really, it's going to exponentially go on for a long period of time with the amount of foreclosures we're talking about.
Yeah.
The amount of opportunity that's going to come is going to be unbelievable. So get prepared for it. Get into the newsletter, start making contacts, and then from there, grow your owner finance business.
Yeah, if you can afford to in any way, shape, or form, and this includes, your coaching as well. If you can get involved, if you can afford to stroke a check to get involved in something that will position you to take advantage of opportunities like this, it'd be the best investment you could ever make. So invest in yourself, because that's what's going to pay you the most over time.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. All right, Ben, well, thank you much for being on the program. We really appreciate having you. Enjoyed you as guests. We're going to have to talk again probably next year about this similar thing and see where we are and see where we think it's going, and look back at the year and what happened.
Yeah, man. I look forward to it. And interesting times ahead.
Absolutely. And we'll catch up with you too at Investor Fuel here in about a month and a half or so, not even that long.
Sounds good, brother.
All righty.
Thanks, Paul.
Have you ever felt that you hit a ceiling as a real estate investor? Where no matter how much time and money you spend on marketing, you just can't find enough deals to feed the family? You know what I'm talking about. You spend thousands of dollars per month on marketing. Then you have to drive all around town looking at properties, negotiating and talking with home sellers just to have some cancel on you at the very last minute. Do you have a steady stream of phone calls each day pushing you towards closing the amount of properties you want to close on each month? You say that you're going to do more marketing, but now you need to hire someone to handle the dramatic increase in calls. In fact, you may even need to hire someone to go visit the houses and talk with the sellers. Or if you do it yourself, you run the risk of burning out, losing deals, and giving your hard-earned cash away to the ever-rising competition in your area for you to take a second of rest. The majority of people that we have surveyed would tell you that despite the fact that their marketing looks really good, rarely does it bring in predictable leads. What you need to add is a new lead source that fills in a gap and consistently allows you to buy more houses. You don't want to do what I did. I remember having to rely on spending thousands of dollars each month on marketing, spending half my day driving around without even getting a single bite. And when they did, they cancel on me at the last minute. I made decent money, don't get me wrong, but the constant, endless grind became unbearable to the point where I would question, is it even worth it? So what's the good news? The good news is today, things are totally different. I can buy houses anywhere in the USA without leaving the comfort of my own home. Did I mention my net profit on each deal is a lot higher now because my expenses are a lot less? Go to reoauctionacademy.com to learn how to buy houses in any market without leaving your home. I will show you real life examples on how I do it. Again, to learn more, visit reoauctionacademy.com.
You've been listening to Flipping Out with Paul Lizell, the #1 success platform for virtual wholesalers. Visit our website, thevirtualinvestor.co, for more information about how you can leverage virtual wholesaling to take control of your time, enjoy financial freedom, and live life the way you've always wanted to. Join us again next time for another informative discussion right at your fingertips.